Hey guys, Troy Francis and Mr. M in Bogota, Colombia. Been great to catch up with you again, Mr. M. We've not seen each other for a while, so we spent a whole weekend here and it's been pretty crazy. How have you found it, man?
Yeah, I mean, anytime, as you know by now, you become a regular coming to Bogota. When you come to Bogota, it's a lot of fun. And the reason why we tell guys, come to Colombia, specifically Bogota, is just because the carnage that goes on here. Yeah. And as you mentioned, we were here for a week running a program. It's a little bit tiring, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I went to Teatron with the guys. You weren't there, but I was there. Mr. Bonaparte was there. That was Saturday night, and I mean, that place is just nuts. I mean, the nightlife here, obviously predominantly we're teaching day game, but we do incorporate night game when we're in Colombia because it's just so crazy.
It's unlike the Western world, as you see, night game here, people are friendly, very receptive. You can easily get in conversation. So a lot of guys, they think of night game from the standpoint of their experience in the Western world. But when they come to Colombia, such as myself, I'm like, holy shit, it's actually really fun.
Because guys think, you talk about nightclubs and you think, oh, there's going to be bottle service, there's going to be a velvet rope, there's going to be a VIP area and all that kind of stuff. Unless you've spent 10K on a table or whatever. And that's completely not the case here. No. It's just a free-for-all. Everybody's out. The women are super, super friendly. Obviously very, very beautiful, but super friendly. Yeah. Really open to meeting foreign dudes, gringos, and it's just absolutely insane. I mean, I genuinely think, and I spent a lot of time in Berlin and different places where the nightlife is pretty crazy. I genuinely think in Colombia I've just had some of the craziest nights in my entire life. Yeah,
like most guys, like I'm not a big fan of like club game or night game, but like when it comes to Colombia, South America in general, I'm like, it's a totally different ballpark.
Well, the other good thing as well is there's also that middle ground of like bar game, isn't there? Yes. Which I think most of us can get on board with. Because look, I mean, the reality is I'm not really up for being in a club till like 6 a.m. these days, but the bar game thing is really good because there's lots of people out on the streets, so you can talk to people on the streets. In the bars themselves, it's a slightly less high pressure situation. It's really, really cool.
And what you just mentioned, what we both mentioned, the main thing is just the receptiveness. Yeah. Because like you from the UK, I'm from America. In general, girls can be they have their guards up. Yeah. And they're used to approaching, they kind of roll their eyes. But here in Colombia, they're like, oh, okay, cool, I want to meet you. Yeah. It's just like very like natural, and girls are very receptive.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, but one thing we were going to talk about, actually, the video was about the dating scene in general in 2023. Yeah. Obviously, we're nearing the end of the year now, going to be coming into 2024 soon. Yes. And we've got some exciting news about that actually coming up. But has it got harder? Do you think it's got harder?
Yeah, it's gotten harder. So personally, I got into cold approach about 5-6 years ago. And at that time, if you were to go out, put in the numbers, you'd still get on dates. But as each year has gone by, because of social media, Instagram specifically, becoming more and more popular, girls are having more options than ever. I think the dating market has become harder for all of us.
Yeah, would you? Because obviously you travel quite a lot. We're here now in Colombia. I mean, would you say even here it's got a bit harder?
Yeah, there's a stereotype that you're in Colombia. Basically, you walk off the plane and you can get any girl. Look, obviously, as a foreigner, and especially if you have your shit together, you can get more numbers, but possibly more dates, but you're still going to get flakes, you're still going to get rejected. So even here, the hottest girls still have options. And just because you're a foreigner doesn't mean that you're automatically going to come here and get laid every night. No. So even here, and you can obviously give your opinion, no matter where you are, it's gotten harder.
Well, I mean, one thing about here is the women are very receptive, and you're going to get a lot of IOIs, the indicators of interest. They like you off the bat and stuff like that. But there is a bit of flakiness, because and you're going to have to deal with that anywhere, whether you're in New York or you're in London or you're in Colombia. That's just part of the game these days, and I think it's for various reasons. I mean, Latinas can be quite kind of flaky anyway, but also on top of that, you've got basically all the competition, the unseen competition, because she's got her Instagram, she's got her dating apps, whatever she's using, and so it's and so that really, but it's not a terrible thing. It's just that you need to be doing volume because you need to make sure. It's not like, oh, I met this girl on Thursday and I'm not going to talk to any other girl for the rest of the week and I'm going to hold out and get her on the date because she might flake on you. So the whole thing about this is incorporating it into your lifestyle, so you're bringing that abundance in.
Exactly, and I think what I've been preaching the past couple of years, and I think what's really cool what you guys were doing with your recent Edge program is that you talk about dating, but you also need to be working on these other areas of your life. And you can't disregard like the gym, your career, your hormones. This adds to it. So yes, you can go out. If you put in the numbers, you will get some numbers, some dates, but if it's a high value girl and if it's a hot girl, she'll see right through that. You need these other areas in your life.
I think these days there isn't really anywhere to hide, is there? Because now we've got Instagram, and she can get a sense of your lifestyle pretty quickly.
Exactly.
But more importantly than that, she can get a sense of the other guys who are competing for her. She's got, and if there's the guy, and he's got like a 12 pack and he's partying on the yacht or whatever, right? I mean, obviously he's going to be a more attractive proposition. So it's very hard. It's not like the old days where you could just literally come up with a few clever lines and say some funny things, and then she's going to jump into bed with you. You kind of need to be the whole package these days, or at least working towards being the whole package.
Exactly, and it's overall, besides not only adding to your dating life, but it just makes you more fulfilled and better. Obviously, if you're working in these other areas of your life, you feel better, and you feel like you're on a mission.
Well, you talk a lot about self-improvement, don't you, on your channel? You're very big into self-improvement. For me personally, I think my view is we're all works in progress, really, except Jay Waller. He's reached the he's reached the precipice. But everyone else, we're works in progress. So it's like, okay, well, my fitness is pretty good, but it could be better. My fashion, obviously, I'm always looking, trying to get stuff that fits me better. That's a good, keeping up with trends and stuff like that. Finances, again, you can make good money, but we can always do that a bit better. So I think it's just this ongoing, continuous process, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And as you just mentioned, the hot girls, they have more options than ever, and you have to kind of stand out. Or how do you stand yourself from the crowd? And again, you're not necessarily doing it for the girls, but the more you self-improve, the better quality of a dating life that you're going to have.
Well, it's a bit of both, isn't it? Because ultimately you want to be happy in yourself and happy with yourself. And you want to be just living the best life you can. And really, the more physically fit you are, the better you eat, that you getting good sleep, hopefully. Not like us this weekend, but, your hormones are in place, you're getting all those things in line, you're just going to feel better as a guy anyway. I mean, not even bringing girls into the equation, but the knock-on effect of that on your dating life is that's also going to improve.
And personally, Troy, have you seen, as the years gone by, have you also noticed, has the dating market gone harder? And, the guys coming up to you, they're saying that we have some guys that they haven't been on a date for, a year or two. I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think it has got harder.
Yeah.
And me and James will often say, if you think about London, probably back in, I don't know, like 2010, 2012, whatever, it was a different sort of a ball game, pre-social media. It has got harder, but I also think that another aspect of this is that guys are just they're not really putting in the required effort, So it's kind of easy to sit here and go, "Yo, God, it's really hard now," blah blah blah. But are you really maxing out in all those different areas? And are you actually approaching?
Exactly.
Or are you actually being proactive to meet women? I think a lot of guys are like, "Oh, it's very easy to hide behind the excuse, oh, it's so tough now, blah blah blah." When actually, well, it is tougher, but equally, are you putting in the amount of effort? Because like anything, that's worth getting, you need to put in the effort to get it.
And they always say that line that it's the most adaptable that survive, right?
Well, I mean, James says all the time, and I agree with this really. If you are approaching, and not even before James, good-looking loser, wrote about this, he would say, look, if you're approaching, if you're in decent shape, you're well-dressed, you look as good as you can, and that could, there's obviously loads of things you can do to look better, and you're approaching and you're doing, say, 20 to 30 approaches a week, your dating life is going to be above 99.9% of guys on the planet. But the truth is, most dudes just don't do that.
Yeah, because I talk with a lot of guys, like, well, how many approaches did you do? They're like, maybe 4 or 5. I'm like, dude, if you do 4 or 5, you're not going to get any dates.
I mean, even with the dating apps as well, and I'm not, I'm kind of agnostic on the dating apps. I don't think there's any harm in having them, but they don't work particularly well for a lot of guys, so you want to be doing cold approach really as your main pillar. But even then, I've seen some guys' profiles because they've shared, their pictures with me, and they're like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And a lot of their pictures are just not very good. Yeah. They're not showing themselves in the best light possible. So on the one hand, yes, you can say the dating apps are hard and women are only selecting the top 20% of men and stuff like that. But if your pictures are all so shit, then you're not even giving yourself a fighting chance. And I think it's the same in face-to-face cold approach situations. Like, most guys aren't actually cold approaching, or if they are, they're not doing enough. Or if they are doing enough, they're not doing it quite in the right way. They're doing it in a kind of friendly, nice guy way.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of things that we're not in control, but I don't think guys realize just how much we have in control of, like, our body, our fashion. As you mentioned, actually going out and consistently cold approaching. It's just like guys are not willing to, either they're lazy or they're not disciplined, or a combination of both. Guys are not willing to put in the work.
I'm still really, I kind of still believe that if you really wanted to get laid, if you really wanted to find a girl and, you know, have a good time with her, and you kind of had the metaphorical gun to your head, you could probably do it. I mean, look, we're sitting in, again, we're quite lucky because we're in Bogota, which is a great city for dating, but I mean, pretty much any city really. If we went out tonight and we're like, right, I'm going to go out and talk to as many, you know, I'm going to go and talk to 50 girls, I'm going to talk to 60 girls until I find somebody I get traction with, the likelihood is you could make something happen. If you really had to, I mean, what is it now, Monday? It's like a Monday night. You could go out and you could make something happen. But again, most guys aren't going to do that because they don't want to put that effort in, or they don't want to face the rejection.
Scared of rejection, or they have big egos.
Yeah.
As you probably noticed, a lot of guys have big egos. Look, as a guy, it's good to have an ego, but when you're learning this stuff, at the beginning, you need to be vulnerable. You need to say, okay, I'm not good in this area. What can I do to learn this? I'm going to throw myself out there. So what if you get rejected? So many guys, they take it personally when it's not personal at all.
And the other thing as well, because obviously you've got the people who talk about looks all the time, and we've said, you know, it's not to contradict ourselves, because we said looks are important, and yes, of course, you want to look as good as you can, but again, it's one of those things that's very easy to blame, because you're like, oh, it's all about looks, or even it's all about money, or it's all about something else, and well, those things are important, but if you take a lot of action, that's going to be the equalizer. You know what I'm saying?
Look, you probably, unless you have some weird procedure, you can't really change your face, but you can change your fashion, you can change your body, you can make more money, you can do interesting hobbies, you can travel, create a cool lifestyle. A lot of things we can control.
Well, you could say, actually, I mean, I agree on the face, although, I mean, obviously there's some procedures you can do, but I agree on the face, except to say that if you lose body fat, facially you're going to look better. And again, you know, good-looking loser who's you know, one of the OGs, he talks about this. He's like if most guys, if they lost body fat, they would facially look better.
Exactly.
And that is something that's, you know, you can work on.
Exactly. So yeah, and upping the fashion as well. So Troy, like going into 2024, we know that 2024 is probably going to be even harder than 2023 because, as I mentioned, personally, and I know you probably agree, each year the dating market's getting harder. Girls have more options, social media, online, dating apps, etc. So what do you foresee next year kind of looking like in the dating market?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, I think it's going to be more of the same. I think the thing is, the genie's not going back in the bottle with all this stuff, you know. We've got all the old, you know, the dating apps, we've got the grey area, sugar dating apps, all that kind of stuff, Instagram. I mean, none of that's going away, you know, unless some totalitarian government takes control and like takes it all down. But
even then, guys are going to come up with another excuse.
Yeah, exactly. But assuming that doesn't happen, that's not going away. So increasingly, it's going to get harder, and that's why banging the drum for us and what we do. That's why it's so important for guys. Because I think coaching. I mean, look, of course, we're dating coaches. We're going to say get coaching, but I genuinely believe that it is the best way to supercharge or to get into the fast lane with this stuff, because you know, you can watch these videos and then you're going out and you're doing some approaches and you're probably making mistakes you're not even aware of, and we know that's the case because we train guys, and some guys have been like, yeah, I've been cold approaching for years, but they're making very elementary mistakes that they don't even know that they're doing, and so to have somebody just pointing it out to you and saying, no, do it like this, change that's not working well for you, try this, that just massively accelerates the process, doesn't it?
And then we also give feedback holistically as well. So if a guy's fashion's not on point or his grooming's not on point, we mention that as well, because these things do matter. And again, guys, they have egos, or they may take it too personally, but we're like, no, if you want to get better at this, yes, we're going to help in terms of the cold approach, and then also the other things that's just going to add your value and give you better success at hit rate.
But you know, on the plus side, I do think actually, as a single guy, or maybe you're looking for a relationship, whatever, but you know, as a single guy, really 2023 going into 2024, it's probably the best time in human history, really, for the average guy to be able to go out there and just have this incredible dating life. It wouldn't have been possible even 10 years ago.
Yeah, so on the flip side, we kind of mentioned the stuff that guys need to improve, but if you are a guy who's working on all this, has, you know, most things on point, we all are still a work in progress, you can have an amazing dating life.
You definitely can. Here's something let's touch on this. This is something I find quite interesting, so I'd be keen to know what you think. So basically, what about looks, again, because we've had a couple of very good looking dudes that we've trained recently, and, you know, with the best will in the world, they haven't been getting the results that really they should be getting. Now, obviously, there's plenty of dudes out there who are like, no, it's only looks. Only looks matter, and if you're good looking, it's just a walk in the park, and everyone else is is done for. And yeah, there are these good-looking guys, and they haven't even had a date in a year or whatever, or had sex. So why do you think that is, and what's the solution for them?
Yeah, so I think this whole looks thing, look, I agree looks will get you in the door, but if you don't have like the other things in terms of some charisma, if you're boring, that attraction is just going to slowly go down. The good thing about being a guy is that guys don't realize we view looks as the number one priority. Girls, yes, to a degree, looks matter, but they also look at other things. Are you charismatic? Do you live an interesting life? Can you carry a conversation? Do you smell good? Do you dress well? So even if you are not, quote unquote, the best looking guy, if you still have these other areas on point that we mentioned, you can still have amazing results.
It's interesting what you said about charisma, edge, whatever you want to call it. It is very important, because what we've seen is guys who are very good looking, and maybe they get initial attraction, but then they get into a conversation with a girl and the attraction starts to go down because she's like, hang on a minute, this guy's really good looking, but he's not really setting the world on fire with how he's coming across.
He doesn't have that sexual intent.
Yeah.
It's not like flirty.
And that's actually another point, because we talk a lot in these videos about playfulness. Yeah, be playful and be fun and sparky and stuff. But your style of game is actually slightly different to that. You are a bit more sort of, it's a little bit more serious. So people have different styles, but as I was saying to you earlier in the weekend, I think the thing with you is you do convey sexual intent.
Exactly.
So it's not about being a clown. It's not about coming in and telling like doing a stand-up comedy routine. But playfulness helps if that's your personality. But if your personality is maybe that you're not entirely comfortable with that's okay. But in either case, you need to be conveying that underlying sexual intent, don't you?
Exactly. So again, this whole looks thing, I think personally from a self-belief thing, I think just look as best as you can.
Yeah.
You're born with what you're given with, so don't waste time and energy. Oh, if I can be taller or if I can be quote unquote better looking. Look, just take what you're given with and then improve what you have in control, improve all these areas of your life. And again, while girls, everybody values looks to a degree, girls, they look for other characteristics. Is this guy masculine? Is this guy bold? Is he confident? Is he direct? Does he go for what he wants? Is he ambitious? These are all like personality traits that girls find attractive as well. We don't really find them attractive in girls, but again, girls and guys are different. So if you have these characteristics, you can still date beautiful girls.
Yeah, completely. I think, I think personality counts to an extent with guy. For me, there are some girls that I vibe with better than others, and there's some aspects of her personality, but overall, we are very visual. It's like, yeah, she's hot. Okay, I want to date her. And with girls, it is different to that. And this is, I think, what some people on the internet, some men on the internet, find really hard to understand.
Sorry to cut off, but you and James went to Russia, and I've been to Ukraine, and the guys are not like the best looking. You'd see like these like boulders with these like top notch models, but why are they with them? Masculine. They have probably other things in their life. So like we've been to all these countries where you look at the girl, you're like, well, why would she be with that guy? But that guy probably has these other characteristics.
He's got the other characteristics. I think that's probably somewhat to do with the market as well. And that's another reason why travel is a good thing, because my understanding is that in Russia, for example, there's fewer men than women. So it's kind of like the guys can get away with more because they're more in demand, basically, maybe than in the West. But in saying that, what we've also noticed is that those guys are very masculine.
The frame that they carry.
Yeah, very, very strong frame and everything, and that is also attractive. And you meet girls and they're not really. Sometimes I'll talk to girls and be like, so what thing do you look for in guys? And I was talking to a girl the other day and she was saying, well, I like to feel protected. I like to feel like the guy can handle himself, and it's things like that do make a difference. Yeah,
because like when I started this off early, I'll meet a girl, get her number, and then maybe we've all had this. The girl would be like, look, you're such a nice guy, but I just didn't feel a vibe. That's code word meaning that you weren't masculine enough, or you came across as more like a friend than a sexual threat, calibrated sexual threat. So again, these are just other characteristics that guys need to hone in and not just focus on the looks. Focus on the looks, but as you guys were talking about in your program, there's these other dark triad characteristics that girls find attractive that I think guys can slowly start to learn and work on that will improve their dating results.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely mess it up with girls who were initially attracted to you. And I've had this myself, sometimes, I mean, less so now, but in the past, I would meet a girl, and you know when you could just tell off the bat, she kind of likes you, she kind of, whatever, you got that eye contact, you got that vibe, and then you go and talk to her, and you kind of drop the ball with the conversation, the conversation's a bit dry, it's a little bit boring, a bit monotonous.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, and then the girl's sitting there, and the attraction is slowly draining out of her, and for us as guys, it's really hard to understand that, because we just think, well, she's hot, so she could say anything, and you'd still be interested, but for girls, it is very different.
Exactly. So again, you don't have to look for reasons to be disagreeable, but girls find if you're a little bit disagreeable, you're not just agreeing with everything she says. Yeah, you have to challenge her, tease her a little bit, and if you don't agree with something, just be honest. Be like, no, I disagree. Don't just be mean about it. But these are characteristics that girls find attractive that we both had to learn. And again, yes, as you mentioned, looks will get you in the door, but then when you actually have that conversation, because when you go on a date, you actually have to talk to the girl. It's how you convey yourself, how you carry yourself, the type of frame that you come in with. That's going to kind of make or break if the girl's going to sleep with you and date you.
And this is another reason to practice cold approach. I mean, fine, use the apps, use the grey area apps if you want, whatever. You can use these things, but the reality is you're still at some point going to have to meet up with that girl.
Yes.
And you're probably... In 99% of cases, you're going to at least have to sit down and have a drink with her first, and she's going to be like, "Okay, so what's this guy made of?" And if you're a bit of a flannel when she meets you, you can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Just to give you a quick example, 2 days ago, I was out with a girl here in Bogota, and in the middle of the date, all of a sudden, she starts putting out her phone and she's texting. And I just kind of waited, and then she continued, and I was like, look, hey, is there a problem? And she's like, no. And then I'm like, well, if you don't mind, I'm here to get to know you. Can you please put the phone away? What would a nice guy do? They'll just let the girl text, and then the girl's like, why has this guy not said anything?
Yeah, no.
But then I said, hey, I can leave if you want. Can you please put your phone away? And she actually put it away.
No, it's good that you brought that up, actually, because I was going to ask about that. So do you think that in line with the dating up market becoming tougher, girls are, not always, but sometimes maybe they're acting up a bit more because they kind of know they can get away with it?
Because a lot of girls have probably dated a lot of guys, and the guys are just dating them because they're hot and they're willing to put up with a lot of BS.
Yeah.
I agree. Girls are not maybe doing it maliciously. They're so used to it.
Yeah.
So that if you're a guy who actually, corrects that in a calibrated way, don't be all mean about it, but a girl will be taken aback, because I agree. Girls are probably used to getting away with stuff like that, showing up late, maybe pulling out their phone, or being a little, a little disrespectful comment here and there. I think that's because so many guys just let them get away with it because of their looks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been out with a number of girls, and the way they behaved in public it's ranged from being just a bit childish to being actually outright disrespectful to the staff in places where we've been, and also even to myself. And obviously at that point you have to you need to cut your losses and leave, really. But I've also been out with girls who are it's not like malicious intent, but they just kind of say and do stupid stuff. Like, I mean, I was with a girl earlier in the year, and it's like really late, we're going back to this hotel where we're staying. She's like, oh, I really want cupcakes, where can we get cupcakes? And it's like, I don't know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, what are you talking about? And it's kind of like, it's not a malicious thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just that she is kind of living in her own little world, and she expects to be able to get whatever she wants. Exactly. and then it's on the guy. It's like, where the fuck can we get cupcakes at 1 in the morning?
Exactly.
And it's sort of, it's just kind of slightly unnecessary, annoying things like that. And I sometimes I look at these girls and I think, well, you're behaving like that because A, you've got away with it in the past, and B, because your value is very high. Yes. You don't have to behave, Because even if I say to her, and the problem is as well, I could just say to her, hey, listen, I'm ending the date now because I don't like your behaviour. Yeah. And she might be a bit pissed off about that, but she knows that tomorrow some other dude's going to hit her up on Tinder anyway.
Exactly, and that's when you have to reach to a point where you have to have the abundance. So even despite if she's cute, if her behaviour is quite childish or she's being a little bit disrespectful, you need to have the abundance mindset to not put up with that, and knowing that you're going to meet other girls and that you're not going to lower your self-respect just because she's hot. Yeah,
so look, I mean, and so I think to the point that I made, it might be that same girl, the very next day will be on a date with somebody else because she's got so many people after her. But that's fine. That's her thing. Yeah. But the boundary that you're drawing is, I personally am not going to accept this behaviour because this is just not what.
And some girls are going to like that, and some girls you're never going to see again, and you have to be okay with that.
Exactly. You have to be prepared to walk. It's kind of like, okay, look, this behaviour is not acceptable to me. I'm going to end this date. And if she's like, okay, well, fuck you, I'm never going to see you again, that's fine. You've got to be all right with that.
Because I found personally, you probably feel the same, is that if you let that behavior slide, then in the next state you might do it again, and it becomes like the snowball effect. You have to have your boundaries. You don't have to have like these extreme like boundaries, but you have to have self-respect boundaries, whatever it is to yourself, and you just have to hold them despite how hot the girl is, because it's self-respect, and a girl's not going to sleep with you if she doesn't respect you in the first place.
I mean, I won't tell the whole story because it's quite long now, but I mean, I was telling you about that French girl I was dealing with. It's just a complete shit show. She was just being really rude to the staff where we were. She was being rude to the Uber driver. We get another Uber and she's doing cocaine in the back of the Uber. I mean, it was just complete carnage. And in the end, it gets to that point where this just isn't funny anymore. I just can't handle this behavior. And so in the end, I got her an Uber and she left, and that was it.
And I believe it was kind of funny that even though she was hot, your attractiveness to her was probably starting to fall.
It was.
It got to a point where you didn't really want to sleep with her anymore. And I got to that position too, where even if a girl's cute, if her behavior is shitty or she's not being respectful, I don't even find her attractive anymore, quote unquote.
Well, I was so glad to get rid of her at the end of that night. And I mean, I know it's like, oh, you're a guy, you want to get laid and stuff. But I mean, to be honest, I was just like, I just want to get rid of this girl. It was just a night. It was just a disaster. Most women, that's a bit of an extreme case. Most women, it's not like that. But it's those little annoying things. As you look at the phone, cupcakes at 1 a.m. It's just these stupid little things. And you've got to you've got to have the boundaries for yourself. And you're not doing it, you're not saying to her, right, I'm going to push back on that behavior so that then she secretly gets attracted to you. It's got to be no, this is my boundary, and if you want to walk, that's fine.
Exactly. You have to be prepared for her to walk and not care. Yeah. And if you never hear from her again, that's fine as a guy.
But what do you think about abundance? Because we always talk about abundance mindset and stuff, and guys, and it's kind of difficult. Like, if you are living in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and there's 3,000 people there and all the rest of it, it's very hard to get your head around this abundance thing. But the reality is, and we see this the more we travel, abundance is real. It's not this weird abstract thing. It's just literally, we can walk out tonight and probably see 25 girls that we think are really attractive. I go to the airport tomorrow, I'll probably see a bunch of girls there. I mean, there are so many women in the world, and you need to intellectually realize that. Then you need to find a way to start actually taking advantage of that.
Look, I'm sure for specific jobs, you may have to be stuck somewhere in a small town and you have to make do with it. But I think that we live in a age where, again, going back to the conversation, what do you have control over? Location is one of them. Yeah. So if you are in a shitty location, change it, because the location is half the game. It's where you're at, because the bigger the place is, the more options there are going to be. Yeah. So if you are in a shitty location, again, as a guy, take ownership. Change it, change your scenery, change your environment. If you're around more people, if you're around more girls, naturally you're going to have more of an abundance mindset.
Well, even Michael Sartain was saying on a podcast on Access Vegas recently, he was sort of saying, look, I mean, I moved to Vegas and I moved onto the Strip or just off the Strip because I knew I would be surrounded by thousands of girls. And I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer really. But if you're sitting in the the middle of bumfuck nowhere and you're there's a few other houses around you and then some cattle. I mean, you could be the best game person on the planet and you're not going to get results. So you've got to really think seriously about that. And I get guys who come to me and they're like, yeah, I'm living in this town, there's 10,000 people there, how do I get really good at this stuff? And it's like, well, ultimately, really, if you're serious about it, you have to move, or at least you have to be prepared. You have to travel to the nearest good, decent town. Make trips, even once a quarter. Make a trip abroad, or whatever, several times a year, whatever.
Yeah, because they always say that the biggest driver for change is pain. So, if it's not in you to change your location, you're probably complacent, and then you're still complaining. So, if it's really an issue, and if you really want to get good at this stuff, and you actually want to have more options. As you mentioned the example, you have to go out, you have to change your environment. Obviously, don't just do it off a whim. Maybe it might take 3-6 months of planning, but start planning it, start taking action, and then it will happen before you know it.
I think it's really hard, because I think most people, if they really wanted to, they could. They could probably get a remote job. They could probably find a way to start making money online. They could probably, or even just move to a different location, like move to, Bogota and then find some work. I mean, there's going to be ways to do it. I do, however, accept there probably are some people where the circumstances are such that it isn't practical. We have to, that's fine. But you should realise that, it's no coincidence that I'm from the UK and I'm sitting in Bogota. I don't know what's the dating scene like back in Ohio? I mean, is that?
It's not great.
So I suspected as much. So look, I mean, there's no coincidence that we're sitting here and you spend a lot of the year traveling, you know, because you don't. I was saying to James, we were doing another video earlier, you don't get any prizes for being the best player in Ohio or being the best player in a small town in England. It's not like, yeah, man, you know, it's just stupid. You've got to go where the market is, you know.
Yeah, because then you're just wasting time. And again, time is something we can never get back. So yes, you may have a little bit more value in these other countries, but so what? As you mentioned, you're not going to get any prizes. In the end, nobody's really going to care about what you're doing. So stop wasting your time in a dating market environment. If you don't like it, if it's not good, if it's shitty, change it. And if it takes some planning, so be it. A year from now, you're going to be in a much better position than you are now.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys who are in my, you know, Telegram group or in my WhatsApp group, and, you know, they're living in these pretty substandard towns, small towns. There's not many dating options there. They're kind of going for the scraps in dating and everything. And I'm a bit like, well, your aspirations aren't high enough, you know. And I've actually, I mean, I'm not trying to. Want it enough. Yeah, and it's kind of, I mean, there's one guy I'm thinking of in particular, and I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I mean, I have a couple of times recently just posted some pictures of girls that I've been dealing with, and the reason I'm doing that is sort of to say, well, hang on a minute, I'm significantly older than you. I mean, this is a guy in his early 30s, and it's like, and yeah, I'm with her, and you're with, you know, this troglodyte or whatever, and it's like, well, why is that, right? Yeah. So, and the reason is, it's not even, it's environment. I mean, obviously, you know, I spent a long time learning game. I mean, I'm honing my social skills and all that, but it's partly that, but it's also, you've got to just arrange your life in such a way that you're putting yourself in the best position, right?
Yeah, we were in Mexico earlier in the year running a program. I was helping running a program, and a few American guys were, I think in the past year, they didn't really date or they didn't get laid. Then they come to Mexico City and they got laid in a week multiple times. And again, yes, learning to improve the cold approach, the dating, but part of it was just a location environment change.
Yeah, you can't emphasize it enough. And then you've got the purists who are like, no, that's cheating, you know, you should be in Minnesota and stuff. And it's like, well, I mean, life's too short for that shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, you might as well go, firstly, where there's a large population of attractive women. Yes. And we're told, actually, that somebody was telling me the other day in Bogota, specifically, there's 50% of the women are sort of 25 or under. Yeah. So there's that. Obviously, we're in a great spot as far as that's concerned. And also a place where your value's a bit higher.
Exactly.
You know, and people think, oh, you know, it's because you've got money and they just want your passport and stuff like that. But it's not really. It's just they think you're interesting because you're from a different place. They think it's. So, I mean, some girls I've met here, you know, I saw them from London, and like the girl I was with last night, she's like, oh, London is so cool. I really. Yeah. So they just like the vibe of it, you know.
And again, we're going back. What do girls find attractive? Does the guy live an interesting life? Does he have cool stories? Can he tell a good story? You know, having a good conversation. These experiences that you had, you know, they make you tougher. They make you more masculine, going through trials and tribulations. So yes, when you travel and you come here, most of these girls, they're probably meeting like the local guys. They don't have much to tell. But you come in, you travel all over the world. The girl's like, wow, this is really cool. It's not just you're a foreigner or money or whatever. No, it's just also you have more interesting life.
Yeah, because again, to reiterate the point we made earlier, although you do have more status when you come here, at the same time, if you're a complete chump, you're still not, you know, you're not going to be surrounded by beautiful Latinas. It's just, it doesn't work like that. You've got to, it's a combination of all these things. You've got to have your value sorted as much as you can. So that's your fitness, the hormones, your fashion, all that stuff, the grooming. Then you've got to be in the right location, which might be here or it might be Cali with us at the end of the year, which we'll touch on again in a minute. And then you've got to have a bit of game. Right, you've got to understand social dynamics. You've got to understand how to deal with women.
How to talk.
Yeah, how to talk, and probably the sexual side of things as well that Mr. Bonaparte teaches. You know, you've some confidence there and the ability to emanate that sexual charisma. Yeah. So it's a combination of those things. And if you're lacking in one of those areas, you're not going to do as well as you can. Exactly. I mean, it's not to say you won't get any dating success, but you're not going to get what you could be getting.
Yeah, I mean, guys, don't sell yourself short. I mean, every day is the youngest that you're ever going to be. Each year gets faster and faster. Each year gets faster and faster. So like, don't look back 5-10 years from now thinking that you had all these opportunities in the world and saying that, oh, I could have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's never too late, but just realize it now and just start taking action.
Yeah. Although, I completely agree with that. But by the same token, so there's a dude I actually met up with in Miami before I came here, who's a client of mine, and I think he's done some work with James. He's an older guy, he's in his 60s, and he's from Canada, so poor bloke, and he's basically rented out his place, and he's traveling the world, and he's, you know, and this is a dude. You know, he's in his 60s. He looks in his 60s. He doesn't, you know, he's a very nice guy, whatever. But he's traveling around. He's dating all these, you know,
At that age.
exactly. So while you want to seize the day and do it now, and if you're in your 30s or your late 20s or whatever, now is definitely the time. But at the same time, if you're a bit older, don't think it's too late.
Exactly.
It's never too late. But you do have to make that change.
Exactly. So where are we going in a few months?
We are going to Cali in Colombia. So basically, and it's not even a few months really, is it? It's quite soon now. It's like, yeah, basically New Year's Eve. We're going to be in Cali in Colombia, and we're going to be running a program there, and it's going to be fucking off the hook. Do you want to tell them a bit about Cali? Because you're obviously the expert.
Yeah, so when people come to Colombia, obviously Bogota and Medellin are the two largest cities, but the third largest city is Cali. It's not as many foreigners or gringos go down there, but it's in southern Colombia, so the weather's really nice. It's not cold like it is here in Bogota. It's been said, and I can probably confirm it, it's like the nicest girls along with the hottest girls, so it's a great combination.
Yeah.
And then, as mentioned, because it's less foreigners, the reception is amazing.
Yeah.
Very easy to get into conversations. The night game's amazing, the club game's amazing, but then also, because it's going to be New Year's, they also have the street festival carnival that, you know, people from all over Colombia is going to be coming to.
Yeah.
So you're going to be meeting a whole bunch of Colombians on the street, having a good time, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean that is actually a big factor as well, because with Cali it's a party place anyway, right?
Yes.
But now it's going to be right up to New Year's. I think their New Year is like the 30th, I think. So it's right in fiesta time, and from my experience, when you go to these places and there's a fiesta on, it's just through the roof.
Yes.
So it's going to be absolutely insane.
Super
As you say,
cheap as well.
yeah, these Latinas, I mean these Colombian girls are genuinely some of the most beautiful in the world.
Yes.
They really, really are. I mean, I love Eastern Europe, I love Ukrainian women and, you know, women from that part of the world, but I have to say, you come here and they're stunning, they're super friendly, they're very sensual as well, they're very sexual,
Yes.
they're generally very open to meeting
Yes.
foreign guys and all this
Yes.
kind of stuff, so it really is a no-brainer, and we're going to be running this, it's going to be a 4-day program,
Yes.
and basically, off the momentum that we've had here in Bogota, because I mean, some of the guys here, I mean, it's been a completely transformational for them, hasn't it?
Most of the guys, this is their first time here in Colombia, so they haven't really had the experience of dating Colombian girls. They all mentioned, like, oh, how nice they are.
Yeah.
Also, how cute they are and receptive they are.
So there's a couple of things with that, because on the one hand, what it means is it's likely that you're going to be able to, you know, make some things happen when you're there, which is obviously great. But then in terms of the longer term skill set, I think that it's great to come somewhere like here to practice, because or Cali, because what it means is you're going to be able to get into a lot of interactions. It's not just going to be these immediate. It's not just. Stop it a second.
It was going good, wasn't it?
You carry on.
Carry on. Yeah, remember the dingy
Yeah.
The funny thing is that the music just.
Oh, here we go. So, right. What are you talking about? So, it's not going to be these immediate blowouts. So, the value of coming to a place like Cali to train or to get coaching is that you're going to get into a lot of interactions, that you're going to be able to see the process through from the first approach to the date to going further, and it's just easier to do that in a place where people are more receptive. Now, the knock-on effect of that is you might hopefully make something happen while you're on the event, which is great, or several things happen, which is even better. But even more than that, you can then take that skill set back with you when you go to your hometown. So even if your hometown is tougher, you know, live in Chicago or you live in I don't know, like Minnesota or something like that, you know, you're going to be able to take the skills that you've got and go back, and you're going to have that muscle memory, you're going to have those positive reference experiences. It's going to be much easier for you to then make things happen, even if the environment you're going back to is slightly tougher.
Yeah, guys, and I'm just telling you, James took me to Cali for the first time a couple years ago. It was honestly one of the best places I've ever been to. Girls are very receptive. We were doing like 2-3 dates a night. The nightlife's incredible. It's very cheap. People are very nice. We stay in the nice areas, and you know, we recommend. So if anyone is interested, we'll recommend you where to stay. And just can't get enough. I mean, I spent 4 days in Cali before coming here to Bogota. So much fun, very, you know, relaxing. But for New Year's, it's going to be complete carnage.
Yeah, so it's going to be absolutely off the hook. So if you're interested in that, what you need to do is drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or Can they get in touch with you as well?
Yeah, they can get in touch, but I think, just email Troy at realtroyfrancis.com.
So email Troy at realtroyfrancis.com. Put Colombia in the subject line, or put bootcamp in the subject line. And if you can, leave your WhatsApp number or some sort of contact details, and then we can get on the phone and have a call and we'll talk about it. And if you're a good fit, then we'll get you in there. Obviously, places are limited for this. I think we've got
A few guys already signed up.
Yeah, we got some guys signed up already. There's a few places left. This is obviously the final boot camp of the year. It's going to be absolutely insane. You're going to get myself, Mr. M, James Tusk, Bonaparte, the sex coach, is also going to be there. And that's another huge part of the puzzle as well, getting confident with the sexual side of things. So, you really, really need to do this. If you've been sitting on the fence, like thinking, shall I do some training? This is the event to come to.
And what better way, we're talking about, as the dating market's getting harder, what better way of starting 2024 off than coming to a place like Cali, approaching loads, getting a lot of numbers, going on dates? What better way to start off 2024 in terms of your dating life?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So with that, hope you've enjoyed the video, and we will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.